Welcome back to Therapy Designs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kelly and this channel is all about print-on-demand everything. So if that is something that you're interested in, please hit like and subscribe and stick around. Okay, in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how you can create this cool sort of retro groovy Valentine's Day style design. We did do quite a bit of editing to what was already a pre-made design that I found on Creative Fabrica, though there are a lot of similar style things that you can do using just Canva graphics alone. I did go ahead and show you how to get that sort of melting text look at the bottom. That was not part of the design. So if you want to learn how to do this, go ahead and stick around. So here we are on Canva's homepage again. This time I'm going to show you guys how you can create more of a retro style Valentine's Day design, as retro style is always very popular. I will be utilizing a little bit of Creative Fabrica graphics as well, but of course you can do this with anything. So I'm just going to start by selecting my custom size. So in the right hand corner of the page I can hit custom size. I am designing for a t-shirt, so I'm going to do 4500 by 5400 pixels. And I do like to design for the darker colors as they do sell well. Although if you're doing Valentine's Day, you may want to consider designing specifically for something like pink or specifically for red or white. Those are the times when those colors may sell better. But as a whole, black does tend to sell the best. So I'm just going to go ahead and optimize here for black, as that's how I usually like to design. And so what I'm going to be doing is coming up with a fun, kind of that cheesy retro style Valentine's Day. Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this using some Creative Fabrica graphics, but I do want to show you that there are some on Canva as well that you can use. So if you go up to Elements and you searched for, like, let's say retro Valentine's, you can see under graphics that there are plenty of kind of more cute retro style Valentine's Day. So for example, this is what I mean when I say retro. You've got like the little faces and the hands, that looks cute. So you got some cherries here, a heart with some coffee. So you've got lots of fun retro style designs that you could use here. So tons and tons and tons of stuff that you can work with. But I do want to show you one that I saw on Creative Fabrica that I thought was really cool. So if you do have Creative Fabrica, great. If not, there's always free elements that you can choose from. So, you don't have to pay for anything unless there's something you particularly want, but you can always check out the freebies. So right now I'm on my Creative Fabrica page. And if you want to see freebies, you can go right over here on the right hand side. It says freebies. You can click all freebies, free fonts, free SVGs, free graphics, and this is where you can get tons of free stuff. And there are tons and tons of free fonts, and I did do a video on how to download free fonts and use them on Canva, but just so that you can see, there's also plenty of free graphics. So when I went to free graphics, you are talking about 243,000 free graphics that you can choose from. And there's Valentine's Day wallpapers and all sorts of different things that you can choose from that are free. So you don't necessarily have to spend a lot, though Creative Fabrica is pretty cheap and does have a lot of tools. So if you want to spend the money to get a membership, I do have a link in the description below this video, but otherwise there's lots of free stuff. But I'm going to go ahead for this. I'm going to click print on demand, and there's tons of print on demand stuff, and you can already see they're starting to put the Valentine's Day stuff up, and so there's already some Valentine's Day stuff. But I'm going to do a little search here, and so what I'm going to be searching for is going to be retro Valentine's Day, and let's see what comes up. There should be some good bundles here, and so you can see all sorts of different retro Valentine's Day stuff is coming up, and so all sorts of fun things. Now the one that I wanted to show you was actually in here. Is it one of these? Let's see, it looks like that, so it might be that bundle's just not showing everything. Let me see if I find it. So here's one example that I found that has some really cool retro style Valentine's Day designs. So this bundle right here, and you can see that there's just a whole bunch of different just cheesy Valentine's Day designs. There's the pizza one where it says, "You always got a piece of my heart. I love you more than coffee. You are very special." You and I Are the Perfect Mix, and so just really cheesy Valentine's Day stuff. This is very popular. And so you can pick any of these that you like, and if you hit download, it will go ahead and download them as a zip file. You would have to open the zip file and then drop each individual PNG into your regular downloads, and then you can jump over to Canva and you can then upload them. So there is one that I found earlier that I'm having a little bit of difficulty finding right now, but I do have it already saved in my Canva, so I will go ahead and show you that. So I'm going to jump right back over to Canva here. And now what you would do is, if you had just downloaded that, you would go to the left hand side of the page where it says uploads, click uploads, and then click upload files. That'll pull up your downloads, and from there you would upload what you just made. So now I found this one earlier that I really liked, and it was a nice retro design. It says "You Make Me Melt," and it's got some little hearts and a little ice cream. Very cute, very corny, but I thought I could improve upon it in a way that makes it my own. So one of the things that I want to do is change the happy face in the U. And so I'm just going to change this word entirely. I'm going to make sort of these bottom area look like it's melting. So I want to give it sort of that melting effect. And so different ways that you can kind of take this and make it your own. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to erase this top part here because I don't want it. I'm going to make my own. So I'm going to go from here to Edit Photo. I'm going to use my magic eraser, and I am going to erase as closely as I can the whole word "you," and I will create my own word. Looks pretty good. Once you've got that erased, okay, you can see if you missed any spots. So here you can see I did miss some spots, and I want to get as close as I can without erasing, the letters here. Okay, and if you messed up a little bit, you can always go ahead and try again. So if you ever do the reset, I can reset it. And this will reset your magic eraser. So I can hit Reset Edit Tools and try again. I can always zoom in a little bit too. Sometimes that makes it a little easier. Adjust your brush size. So what I'm really having trouble with is getting right around this K, right there, without cutting off the top of the K. And so again, I'm just gonna get nice and close to the bottom. Top, not worried so much. I can always crop the page too to crop the top off, so it's really just that bottom area that I'm worried about getting as close as possible. And so that's pretty close. Looks like it's not quite as good as I want it, so again, I can adjust my brush size smaller, and then I can still, if I need to, try to get even closer. Oops, made a sale. Right up to the edge there. Okay, and so that's good enough. There's a little bit right there that I couldn't quite get close enough, but when I put in my U, I can just again make it line up right there and cover that, so that's pretty easy. So here I have my Make Me Melt, and so from here I'm going to go ahead and redo the word "you," but I'm going to do a couple things different. I'm going to go over to Elements. And I did like my retro Valentine's Day. Lots of cool things here. I can also do like retro heart. And you can see what comes up under retro heart. And so there's lots of cool retro hearts. Here's one that I liked that I thought I might use a little bit later. And I can change the colors, but I was gonna maybe put that right over here and change the color so that it looked a little better. There was another heart that I really liked that was more of like a melting heart that I thought would look really good here, since we're doing sort of that melting design. So if I can't find it, I will just try again. So let's go with melting heart and see if I can find out. Here's lots of melting hearts, right? So tons of ones that you can kind of choose from. And there were some retro groovy ones too. I can even go with retro. Oh, here we go. So I liked this one here. So it's really minimal melty, but it has the happy face. So it kind of matches that one there. And it does still look a little melty. So that's more of what I was looking for. So I found that under Groovy Heart. So sometimes you have to search a lot of different things to kind of find what you want. So if you don't find it under your first search, try using some different words and you can usually find what you need. So I've got that. That is going to be what I use instead of the circle happy face that they had. And then I'm going to pull up a text box. Now what I need is a capital Y, a few spaces, and a U. And I'm going to go ahead and just for right now, make those that nice tan color and make it a little bit bigger so I can actually see it. So it'll go something like that. And we're going to have to pick a font. Now I was looking for some sort of a nice groovy font, and there's all sorts of groovy fonts. Canva has some, Creative Fabrica has some that you can download for free. You want to get something that sort of matches this as closely as you can. I ended up going with one called Funky Retro Regular. That's the one that I went with. Funky Retro Regular. And so that looked pretty similar. So actually what I might end up doing, because this is a nice wavy look, would be to make each one of these an individual line. So instead of having both the Y and the U, what am I doing? Get rid of that, just have my Y. Put it here. I'm going to hit Control D just so I keep everything else the same. I'm going to hit my 0, so I got my U. There we go, that's better. So now I've got my YOU, and now I can angle this however I need to and make sure that the size is comparable to the size of the rest of the letters. So I'm going to do something like this. My heart is here. That looks pretty good. And then my O is going to have to be the same size as my Y. So my Y is 887. I want my O to also be about 887. So I can always, write 887. Let's see if that one works. Close enough right there. Okay. And then I can put my U. So it was right around here. And I can angle it if I want to. So I can angle it out, I can angle it in. I mean, I want it to be just really minimal. And I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard, by the way, too, to move these letters and graphics up, down, left, right, very small pixels at a time. So I can do something like that. I can even bring the happy face to the front because I think that that looks cool. So maybe something more like that. So you make me melt. I can take the happy face. I can go ahead and match the same tan color if I want to. And I can make this dark color the same dark color that is here. And so that's going to match a little bit more. Now these have a little shadow around there. So if I'm trying to match, I'm going to want my letters to have a little shadow too. So I'm going to go to Effects. I'm going to go to the shadow feature. I'm going to try to match the color, which it pulled up here, of the outline or the shadow around those letters. And I'm going to no transparency, and again, try to match the offset, which is pretty good size about there. Looks pretty good. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the O. I'm going to shadow that. Again, lose the transparency, try to keep the offset about the same. I had 44 here, I can do 44 here so that it's relatively close. There you go. And so that looks pretty cool. If I really wanted to try to add a shadow to this, I could go ahead, hit Control D, that's going to duplicate it. I could change the color here so that it is all that dark color. And then I can hit Control in my left bracket. That will send it in the back, and that will create its own shadow back there. And so that is one way that I can do it. And I could offset the bottom shadow if I wanted to. Oops. I might have to. Boom. And then I could use my arrow keys probably to offset that just a little bit more so that it's a little bit closer to the same size shadow that you see on the other ones. Boom. And so now I've redone the U and I've done the heart instead of the circle that they had, and I've made it a little bit melty. I've added this, and I'm going to change these colors here to match this a little bit better. So I think this, I'm going to go ahead and make that more of that sort of white color that they've got. So as white as they've got, which is kind of an off-white. I'm going to take the pink and I'm going to make the pink probably match either this shade of pink exactly, which I actually think it already kind of is, or we might go with that lighter pink, which is this one here. So something like that would look kind of cool too. So just depending on sort of which shade you want to go with. I mean, you can play around and see if it looks good using any of the other shades. Actually might go with that one there, and that outline, I might as well make that outline there so that it looks like it matches a little bit more. So maybe something like that. Okay, and so now what I want to do, it's looking pretty good, is I want to add some melting features down here, maybe even a couple more of these little sparkles up here too, just to finish out the edge. So I can do groovy, and if you just search for groovy, you can get some of these little sparkle lines here, and so you can find ones that look pretty close. So here's one that looks pretty close, and I can make all of these that tan color too, so that they just sort of all match. In fact, they're actually a lighter tan color. They're more of that off-white. There we go. So then I can make them all match that off-white if I want to. So there we go. So then if I wanted to, I could throw that up there too. Make that a little smaller. Boom. Just add a little bit more sparkle in there. Now let's add some melting stuff. So I can do melting, dripping, you might need to use some different words. Let's just go with melting and see what we've got. And so it's giving you some sort of melting looks, right? So some of those look pretty good, or even dripping. I think I put dripping before and that looked pretty good. And so there were some of these drips that I liked. And so what I want to do is add some of those drips to the bottom of this word here and see if I can make it sort of look nice. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to make that blue so that it's going to match. I'm going to shrink it down. And then we might have to play with some of these to figure out which ones kind of are going to fit in the design the best. So for example, I need it to look like it's coming out the bottom of the word. So I could do something like that with the E, not super loving it. It might look better on the T just based on its shape. Let's see. Oops. And so there's that one, looks kind of cool. I'm gonna go with this and just pick different ones and start playing and seeing what looks like it's gonna fit the best. So that looks like it might fit the E okay if I bring it up a little bit more. Maybe in just a smidge. Nope. I don't want it to look like it's cutting out at all. So different ways that we can do this. Some of these are better than others and you'll just sort of play around. But what we're going to try to do is just get that bottom to look like it's melting. I'm going to move that one there. Actually, I think that one might look best. See, it's got that upward curve that I can use for the E. So that looks kind of cool. That might actually work better for like the M. Play with the size. So far, so good. Liking the way that that looks. You can keep it pretty subtle. You don't have to do the bottom of everything, but you can. Obviously, I could angle it, but I do want the drops to look like they're going down. So if I angled it for like the L, I don't want the drops to look like they're not dripping downward. So sort of different amounts of drippage. Some are dripping more than others. Let's see. Might as well get the other half of that since I got the beginning part of it. See if I can get any other drops that look similar-ish. There's one. I'll go with the blue. This one's going to have to be kind of small because I need it to... There we go. So there you go, we're getting that melting look. Now again, if I really wanted to, I could do that shadow on it, but then I would get a shadow on the top there, and I don't really want any kind of shadow on the inside, so you might have to play with it and see if it works. And so what I mean by the shadow is I can hit, in fact, maybe if I moved it all the way to the back, let's see. If I hit Control D and I duplicate that, and then I make it that nice dark shadow color there, and then I'm going to take that shadow and I'm going to send it all the way to the back layer. So I hit Control and my left bracket, and I do that a couple of times. It should send the shadow all the way to the back. So I just get a little bit of a shadow coming off the drip. So you might need to zoom in to see it, but yeah, now you can see how the shadow is coming off that drip a little bit. And so that actually looks kind of cool. And you may need to zoom in anyways, just so that you can make sure that you're getting your drips lining up nicely. But then again, Control D, get my shadow, and then send it all the way to the back by hitting Control and my left bracket. So if I don't send it all the way to the back, I'm going to get a shadow on top of the letter. I don't want that. So I'm going to send it all the way to the back. Now it'll just shadow on the drips. And so again, I'm going to hit Control D, make it dark, and I'm going to send that all the way to the back layer. Oops, what did I do? There we go. A couple more times, hit Control D, dark drip. Take that dark drip, send it all the way to the back. One more time, Control D, change that color there so I get that dark drip, and then send that all the way to the back. And so now you can see as I'm zoomed in, you see the shadows on the drips too, so that it actually looks like it's going with the letters and that it wasn't just put on after the fact, which is kind of cool. So now I've got my You Make Me Melt. I changed the U. I've added some more little diamonds. We've made the melt actually look melty, and I've added another flourish there. So what I've essentially done now is sort of create my own version of this design. Keep in mind, most things on Creative Fabrica do allow full POD usage. You'll have to look when you download it, but that means that most of them there, you're allowed to use them for print on demands, you know, without making any significant changes. So it should be more than enough, what we did here. And so once I am done, I'm going to highlight the whole thing to group it together. And highlighting the whole thing, I can then reframe it in the page, move it wherever I want. And so that looks pretty cool. I can title this up here. I'm going to go ahead and title it You Make Me Melt. Perfect. And then I hit share, download. It's a PNG. It's going to be a transparent background. And then I just hit download. And now it would be ready to go on shirts, sweatshirts, whatever it is that you want to put it on. I've had people ask if I do anything else to it before I put it up on something like Amazon. No, what you see is what you get. Once I've downloaded it, it is exactly as it is, as I would put it up on Amazon, or as I would put it up on like Printful or Printify if I was doing like my Etsy, sales. So yeah, exactly how you see it is exactly how I do it. And so this design as is what I would put up, and I don't have to do anything further to it. The only time I would change this at all would be if I was putting it on something really big, like a blanket, where it would have to get blown up a lot. Then the only thing I would change is when I download it and I go to share and download, I would change the size here. So right now the size says 1 and it's 4500 by 5400. If you were to do that and change the 1 to 1.5, you are going to get much bigger pixel sizes there. So it increases your size, which means it might take longer than usual to download, but otherwise that is the only thing I would change if I was putting it on something very large. But if I'm not putting it on something large, if I'm putting it just on my regular standard t-shirt, sweatshirt, anything like that, I keep it at a 1. It's still 4500 by 5400 pixels. As long as I make sure I hit transparent background, I am ready to go. If you have any questions about this, drop it in the comment section below. I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can. I know it was another one of those longer videos where I kind of rambled a little bit, but I did want to show you the whole melting technique and all of that. So I hope you guys are doing good. I hope your Q4 was excellent, and I hope you're well on your way to designing for Q1. That's it for today's video. If you found that useful and would like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time.